Hey there. So, I know this is a little bit unusual because I've never been on camera in any capacity on this channel before. So, one, hi, congratulations. I know I haven't posted in a while, so here's my peace offering. You get to see part of my face and my new little privacy social media mask that I had custom made. So, hopefully, you like that. I had planned for this to be a different video, as in the first time I talked to you on camera directly, I wanted to make something really awesome and unique and exciting, and I wanted to make sure that I looked really attractive and cool. And instead of doing that, I decided, you know what? I've been really depressed for about a month now, so there's no better time for me to talk directly to you than right now. Right after Thanksgiving, right after I've had plenty of time to eat a ridiculous amount, make sure my hair is large and frizzy and not camera ready at all, and just generally be not doing so amazing at the moment, mentally and in general. But I thought on the flip side, nowhere to go but up from here, so you guys can, you can track from this point forward as I set the bar very low for any future appearances I make on camera, how much better I probably look from this point forward. So, but anyway, I kind of just wanted to take a second to chat with you guys, because I've not done that, frankly, all that often. I've done the Q&A sessions. Obviously, I chat when I'm recording gaming content, like, all the time. But at the same time, I've never just taken the time to just kind of just, like, hang out with you and chat for a bit. And with me not posting so often, I thought this might be a good moment for me to just check in with you. So, I'm going to be really honest with you. This last month, I have not been feeling great, mentally predominantly, because I don't know. It's not so much one individual thing. It's sort of a lot of different things that have just sort of been compiling over time, and I've just been feeling worn out and exhausted, and this very weird, just kind of blender full of feelings that I have been trying to parse out for my own sake and for my own mental well-being for quite a while now. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I kind of get in one of two mindsets, where either I'm like extremely focused and I'm making so much content, I'm coming up with tons of new projects, or I'm doing none of that at all. And it's frustrating because it's not really so much that I'm burnt out, it's that when I give myself a break, rebuilding momentum to get myself up to pace again is really fucking difficult. It's really hard to be able to sort of just get myself moving that little bit and kind of get the snowball effect. And then once it gets going, then I feel fine. So I have been sort of working through things because I've been in therapy for quite some time. It's no secret. If you've listened to me talk at any length, I've probably talked about the fact that I can be a very anxious person. I can be a very depressed person. I can, in general, my mind can really dictate how productive I can be on a given day. I'm sure many of you relate to that. But I've also been looking into more things because therapy, to be quite honest, has not been helping me. I've had 3 different therapists at this point. I've requested different ones after not finding success with the ones prior, after giving them a chance for quite a number of sessions. And I just feel like at this point, and I don't mean this as any sort of derogatory, speech towards the individual therapist, because I think they are trying their best, but I do feel like a lot of what I keep going through in this cycle is I try to get help, they ask what's wrong, I tell them about my anxiety, my depression, I tell them about having trouble sleeping, I tell them about the racing thoughts, I tell them about waking up in the middle of the night with my heart pounding, just worried about the future, worried about myself, worried about others, worried about not being able to make ends meet, worrying about not being able to make my creative goals one after the other. And time and again, they ask, okay, well, what do you do to fix those things? And I kind of go through my list of like, I try to meditate, I try to write, I try to have these different methods that calm me down, and they kind of go, great, so what do you need therapy for? And I get really frustrated with that because it's like, I want to delve deeper, and I think I've been waiting for therapy to do that for me, which I think it's meant to, but I don't know. The therapy I've been receiving just has maybe not been equipped to be able to identify what's underneath some of these things. So I've been thinking about all of these things for quite a while, and trying to figure out, like, maybe there's a more active diagnosis that I should maybe seek out, not in the sense of trying to self-diagnose, but maybe to be able to go and maybe like be like, hey, I really want to see a psychiatrist and be analyzed for these specific potential concerns. You know what I mean? And after looking into it more myself, just to get more informed about what my symptoms and all that may lead to, I've been seeing quite a bit that looks like I might have OCD. My dad has some compulsive kind of tendencies, and it can be genetically linked. So that could be part of the puzzle, which would kind of make sense with some of the like sensory issues I have, the mental overload, the intrusive thoughts, which is a pretty big one for me, not being able to have a peaceful moment internally. And then also the other thing is for CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is basically the idea of like PTSD, generally speaking, is based off a specific period of your life or a specific traumatic event that you're trying to overcome. Obviously, this varies person to person and case to case, as all mental health does. But CPTSD is stuff where you've had long sections of your life, like if you had an entire childhood that had mistreatment, or a whole, a really prolonged relationship, different layers of things that stacked up to a more densely layered, more resilient form of PTSD. That's not from a concentrated experience, but more from this lifetime of buildup of worry and mistreatment and potential forms of abuse and all that kind of stuff that kind of has compiled together. And I think that may fit the case for a lot of what I do and the way I do it. A lot of like the kind of people pleasing that I tend to do instead of defending myself and my happiness and my well-being and just standing up for myself and being able to set boundaries. So I'm looking into this stuff. I'm starting to research it more for my own sake, because at this point I'm like, until I can get access to someone who's truly thoroughly experienced in these fields, I don't think there's going to be much progress otherwise. I feel like I have to take it on myself to an extent to find some answers. And again, I think this is going to be good for me creatively as well, because up until this point, I've really been trying to do this backwards method where I try to keep creating and just keep sort of, I don't know, just kind of like, I have this blunt force method where I push through creatively, and then I feel very satisfied, and I expect my creative satisfaction to be the thing that makes my brain feel okay, to not feed me intrusive thoughts, to not make me feel so fucking depressed, to not be so worried all the time. And of course it doesn't. Of course, then your brain's not wired like that. It's not really capable of functioning that way. You have to work on it first, because it doesn't, all these externalities are not going to course correct themselves if internally you are still beating yourself up and you're not nourishing yourself the way you need. And up until this point, I've been thinking I've been doing everything I'm supposed to, but I realize, I think underneath all of it, there's just some things that have not gotten dealt with that I need to deal with. So anyway, I'm working through that. I appreciate all of your understanding and your patience while I do that, because I think it's going to take a little bit of time and it's just a little bit of focus for me to get to a point where I feel more in balance as a human being and as a creator. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being compassionate about these things. The community here on YouTube and my listeners and followers, you all have, for a very, very long time, been very thoughtful, very compassionate, very emotionally considerate whenever I bring these things up. And that is a very, very rare thing, I think, on the internet, to be able to have a community that makes me feel so at ease and welcome to talk about my struggles, to talk about what I'm worried about, to talk about when I need space and what I'm struggling with and how it affects me to be able to create entertainment and have fun. And that's a very valuable thing. So thank you for kind of being part of that journey in a lot of ways, and sharing how you've tried to overcome a lot of your own struggles and a lot of things where you not only are sympathetic, but you're empathetic. You relate to that journey of wanting to be better, wanting to be okay, and not always knowing where to start, but wanting it, you know what I mean? Wanting to find progress that doesn't make you feel like you're dragging around this anchor from all your past, which is kind of what I feel like I've been doing for a very, very long time at this point in my life. Especially as I'm about to turn 30, I just thought about it and I was like, I don't want to reach this milestone at my age, to hit 30 and not be able to feel like I'm able to go through the rest of my life at ease with myself, at peace with who I am as a person, at peace with what I've been through. content with where I'm going creatively, you know? Like, it's a lot of these things that I've realized how out of sorts I've been feeling, and I thought it would course correct itself if I had more money, if I had more subscribers, if I just made more stuff all the time. And of course, your brain doesn't give a shit about those things. The experiences you've had in the past that kind of bear down on you, they don't care. They don't care how successful you are. You have to internally develop these things, you know, to be able to actually make yourself stronger and more resilient and more emotionally intelligent to be able to respond to them. And that's kind of the journey that I'm trying to start taking. It's the journey I'm trying to start, you know, moving through right now, you know, at this point in my life, even if that may be difficult and it may be uncomfortable, because it probably will be. So all of that said, let's talk about the future of the channel for a second here. First off, don't worry, nothing's going away. I'm not stopping doing anything. I also don't feel like it's necessary, honestly, for me to like take a extended break from creating anything, because to be quite honest, creating a lot of times is what makes me feel better. It's what makes me feel... I feel more at ease when I'm able to be in a creative headspace, writing or editing or playing games, coming up with funny commentary ideas, you know, like it's just... It's stuff that honestly is pretty comfortable and in a certain way kind of therapeutic. The problem is, it's really hard to do it within the parameters where I feel my best. And by that I mean, I have tried so hard to be the kind of creator that can work day and night, anytime, under any circumstances. And there's not that many that can do that. I mean, most of my friends in the community, I see them sharing about, you know, talking about how much they struggle with trying to stay motivated, trying to come up with ideas, trying to have a routine, you know, and take care of themselves. And it's not easy, you know. I think there's a reason why people who are very creatively minded are the ones who oftentimes struggle so severely with mental health problems, because I heard it phrased this way and it made a lot of sense to me. It might make sense to you if you struggle with these things, which is that the reason on a surface level that there's a direct link between a very creative, imaginative mind and a mind that is very depressed and anxious is because you need to be imaginative for your brain to be able to come up with the anxiety, in the sense that your brain is inventing just the same way you come up with ideas or characters or dialogue or stories. Your brain is doing that, but on the bleak, dark side of it, where it's thinking up how many bad things can happen. And someone who's not terribly creative or terribly imaginative, they're going to struggle to think of 1,000 different ways that someone would hate them and why. But I can do that. I'm very good at that. Which comes in very handy when you're writing dialogue for characters that are opposing each other, because you can come up with all these reasons conflict would happen. But then in real life, you're at like a family get-together and you're like, I wonder if they remember that awkward thing that I said 4 years ago, and they still loathe me for it. Even though they probably, you know, it's a thing where it's like they didn't hate you in the first place when those moments happen, but your brain won't let it go because you remember the suffering of how you felt doing or saying something dumb or stupid or out of pocket or uncomfortable more than anyone else does. Everyone else, it's a blip that they move on from, but for you, it's not, and that's very much how I can be. So, here's my kind of thought. I'm going to be working on trying to find a more balanced pace for myself, and I think what that might look like, honestly, right now, because I've been trying to split the difference and trying so much to squeeze in my original projects in between everything else, as in the series and YouTube audios that I'm writing myself and casting, and they're just time consuming. And it's really hard, for me at least, to be able to write a new episode of something, cast it, edit it, and schedule it and post it and make thumbnails, do all of this, and like have it ready every week. I've never been good at that. I know creators who are much more talented than I am, who are, their brains must work in a different way, and I envy them, and I'm also very proud of them, because I know creators in the community who are so talented, and they're so good at making stuff so damn consistently that they're writing and casting and orchestrating from scratch. And I'm not there yet. I think a lot of that, honestly, is that I could reach a point where I could do that more easily without life being as stressful as it is. And unfortunately, right now, it's quite stressful, and I'm just overall worried about my own future. I'm worried about the kind of future of the country as a whole. I'm trying to maintain what little bit of a sunny disposition I can have about my day-to-day life and all that, just because I feel so worried about so many different things. So what my thought is I'm gonna focus a lot here on YouTube on doing the existing script fills for series that I've already started. For example, I've been kind of putting off finishing the Daisy series, you probably noticed, not because I don't want to do it, but to the opposite, because I'm kind of sad to say goodbye to it, honestly, even though that's silly because there's lots of other series to do and lots more stories to tell, and ones that I've already started that have plenty of episodes left to record. But it was like that was the one that put me somewhat on the map. I'm still a small creator, I know that, but that was the one that really connected with people a lot. So, but that said though, Daisy has been a really, really fun series to work on. I've loved playing Enzo and getting my chance to do my spin on the character. And do so many episodes, but it's time to wrap it up. There's only a few episodes left, so I'm gonna work hard on getting those ready. My kind of plan in a broad strokes sense is that December is gonna be kind of a catch-up month. Like, I'm gonna be kind of just getting back on track with my projects, my posting kind of trickling back in, and then January, and for next year in general, I kind of wanna, I don't know, I kind of want to hit things hard. And by that, I don't mean like posting all the time, but I really want to try to proactively work on my mental health and trying to figure out what routine does work for me, instead of trying to constantly be molding myself into any sort of like a framework that doesn't work for me, which I've done before. Like, I've tried getting up early and recording and editing and writing, and I suck at it. And then I saw a study that I was reading where they took people who were like historically morning people and they tried to force them to become morning people over the course of several weeks. And it didn't make any difference. Like, they didn't improve. Their brain and their chemistry and their biology, like the way their kind of internal clock and timing kind of worked, it just didn't work for them. They tried, and even after a while of practicing and doing all that, they were still struggling, like after a really long time. So I'm like, okay, that's comforting, because a lot of times you hear like, you're just lazy, if everyone else can do it, why can't you? But it's like, there's a reason that there are other people who can legitimately thrive in a 9-to-5 kind of scenario. And I'm not one of them, and most creative people are not, and that's not unusual. That's the reason why people like myself and creative types often desperately seek a job that does not require strict 9-to-5 hours week after week, year after year, because that sounds like a death sentence. It sounds like so painfully, mind-numbingly routine in such an unsatisfying way, compared to the feeling of struggling to kind of make your own way and set your own hours and be able to kind of create what you feel like, which is a much harder route in some ways, but it's better. I would prefer to do this than anything else, quite frankly. So my thought is, I'm going to focus on the script fills. That way I have a little bit of pressure off some of the writing, because I have lots of outlines and I have tons of ideas, but I haven't had the time to commit to them, to write them and rewrite them and polish them and make them really what I want them to be. I want to be able to afford like artwork for the characters, to be able to make, like, ideally I would love to be able to make almost like a visual novel kind of audios, if that makes sense, where like there's actually artwork to go along with different sections of the story that I'm writing, you know? So stuff like that just takes money, to be able to commission artists that very much deserve to be paid for their work. And I'm just not at a point right now where I can do that, you know, when I'm trying to make ends meet. So I think I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to finish up existing series, work on script fills for a while from some of the talented authors in the community. While that is happening, I'm going to be outlining some of my original ideas and trying to structure them and get them ready for future releases. And I also kind of have been toying with a thing that I've been thinking about for a while, which is that I have some series that have been running over on Patreon that have become more narrative. They've become more story-oriented NSFW work. And I was trying to think, I was like, I'd like to be able to share these with my like larger audience. So I'm kind of thinking, and I thought, Reddit is, even though that's largely where I started, Reddit can also be kind of a cesspool for sharing things, as far as like there's no, like, YouTube can be punishing because the algorithm can be tough. Reddit's tough because there is no, like, I shouldn't say there is no algorithm, but it's much harder to decipher as far as if I was just to post them on there, either on my own page or in like an NSFW subreddit. It's so quick for stuff to get buried and disappear, and then it's hard for people to find, and then very few people overall watch it or keep track of it. Versus I do like working on Patreon because that one, it's a place where I can make R-rated and kind of NC-17 kind of adult content that's story-oriented, and I can neatly organize it. The quality of the streaming and the audio quality is very high there, which I really like. So my thought, though, is that I don't want to leave these things completely behind a paywall, even though that's where they were originally created for. So my thought is I'm going to maybe make some YouTube cuts of some of my more narrative NSFW work, because some of them are very story heavy, like they're long 30-40 minute episodes. So there's enough meat there that I'm thinking I could do like almost like a PG-13 theatrical cut that way, and it won't just be a preview, it'll just have the sex scenes kind of hopefully smoothly kind of transitioned over, you know, as you kind of like a James Bond film where you know they're about to fuck and then the music kicks in and the montage goes and then it cuts towards the end of the scene and then you continue the story. So I'm thinking I may attempt to do that with some projects I'm working on right now. And then there will be, obviously, the full cut will be available on Patreon for anyone who wants to do that. And then also, I like that better as a content creator who does make material for adults, to be able to have a place that I feel safer and a little more comfortable posting adult content on a platform that you have to actually like sign up for, and there's a little more to it to be able to actually verify and to express that you are an adult engaging with that content that I make. That way then on YouTube I can have a version of it that is pretty much safe for everyone, you know, that it's not necessarily more salacious than anything you would see in like a PG-13 movie, while still allowing you all to follow along with the story. And for those of you, you know, the many of you, the majority of you frankly, who are adults in my audience, which is who I cater to, if you're interested, then you can go check it out on Patreon. And again, I understand if you want to go try I offer free trials to my Patreon, so you can go like try it out for a week, listen to a whole series, see if you like it, see if it's content you want to subscribe to. If not, that's no skin off my nose, nothing personal. I appreciate the support there. It is a really good direct way to be able to help me grow as a creator and be able to do this more full time. But there's obviously no pressure, as there never has been, and your support here on YouTube is still extremely valuable and extremely important to be able to let other people see the stuff that I make and all the safer work material that's YouTube specific. Like, I like getting to create different types of work for different audiences. I enjoy that. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I wish at this point I could say that, like, you know, I wish I didn't have to make this video. I wish I could come in here and say, like, guess what? Everything's awesome and easy, and I'm not struggling in the slightest, you know. But that's just not the case, and I've always sort of prioritized emotional honesty here on the channel. So this will not be the last video of me checking in like this, even though I don't know how often it's going to be, because I'll be honest, I feel so awkward right now. Like, it's so funny how it resets you to square one. Even if you've been, like, I've been acting for so many years, I've recorded so many audios, I make such intimate content that I don't feel uncomfortable at all making or releasing. But doing this, just because it's new and I'm not used to talking to you through my camera right now directly like this, it's so weird, you know? And I'm sure it won't be soon enough. You know, if I make more videos just chatting with you guys, that'll wear off like it always does. Anytime you're making any sort of content, just doing it for even a little bit longer is going to make you feel so much more at ease, you know, and I'm sure that's how it'll be. But anyway, that's enough rambling at this point. I'm not even sure what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. But look, I'm trying my best, both creatively, but now I'm going to be pivoting to trying my best mentally, because I think I just kind of thought I'm smart and I'm emotionally aware of my issues, so that'll fix it, right? Like, that's knowing you're fucked up is enough reason to be able to like course correct and be able to make your mind work correctly, right? And no, it turns out that's not at all how it works, and you actually have to learn why you're fucked up, and then that'll actually fix the rest of it. I've started reading a book on PTSD that had a thing in the opening that I really liked where he talked about, he's like, PTSD is often misdiagnosed as just anxiety, as just depression, and it's diagnosing these things that are just symptomatic of the deeper struggle that you might be going through. And he says, like, it's equivalent to like you have severe allergies and you go to the doctor and they're like, well, you have itchy eye syndrome, here's some drops for your eyes. And it's like, yeah, that's a symptom and that's part of it, and that's probably one of the most noticeable like exterior examples of what's wrong, but that's not the reason it's happening. And I read that and I was like, that's a really good point, because I've been trying to treat my panic and my anxiety and my depression as these individual entities, not as a thing where it's like, why do I relate to the world this way? Why do I have a day that feels anxious when someone else can have similar circumstances and not feel that way? And it's a way that someone else relates to the world that's different from my own experience and my own ability to like process my own emotions, you know, to process my emotions, to process outside kind of stimulus, anything like that. Like the other night I went to a movie and I felt so fucking anxious because I was having a great night, got in my seats, and a group of people came in and they were like, hey, these are our seats. And like, I was like, no, they're not. Here, I have like my app right here with like the seat number. I think what they did is I think they bought the wheelchair seats next to me in the aisle, like cause it's like towards the front of where the theater, like the front area of the theater and the walkway. And so they were like, well, no, we got all 4 of these seats. And I'm like, no, I bought these tickets. I didn't buy them at the box office. I bought these at like 9 a.m. this morning when no other tickets were sold. No, these aren't your seats. And they were like, oh, you know what? Don't worry about it here. You stay there. We'll just sit around you. So I ended up just surrounded by strangers for the whole viewing when I thought it was just going to be like a relatively private, unbothered experience. And I felt so fucking anxious. I was almost sick to my goddamn stomach. And the people weren't like being necessarily mean or anything like that. Like they were being kind of obnoxious. Like they seemed like they were just kind of those kind of theater goers. You know what I mean? Like where it's like they just clearly don't really know how things work, and they don't care to learn, and they just kind of treat everywhere like it's their living room. And this is like its own category of people that transcends race. It transcends finances. We're talking people of every age and color and background are all for me. This is the only bigotry that I allow for is shitty theater goers. If you're in this category, get help and stop being obnoxious for the rest of our sakes. Learn how to pick a correct goddamn seat in the theater. Learn how to sit in a movie without your phone. It's stuff like that I know like other people would have been like, no, it's kind of annoying. And I will like hear people talk about experiences like that, and they're not fucked up for an evening, you know? Like, it didn't fuck me up for the whole evening, I shouldn't say. That's perhaps a bit of hyperbole. But you know what I mean? I felt off after that. I had so much trouble settling in to enjoy the second half of the film, because the first half, I was just like, they're gonna keep doing weird things, and now I'm nervous, and what if I tell them to turn off their phone, what if they get violent? And like, I live in America, so it's a place where I'm like, it's not impossible that they physically hurt me or shoot me or stab me, because that's happened before, and like even like locally there's been incidents at like the theater like in my area, like, and that's just a thing about America you have to worry about, is like, will this person physically harm me if I tell them, hey, you're being rude right now, can you please not be rude? So look, I'm gonna be going on kind of a bit of a self-discovery journey, trying to learn how to relate to myself better, relate and structure my creativity in a more healthy way, which would be good for everyone, because that'll mean I'll feel better about what I'm making and probably be able to make it probably more consistently if my brain's in a better headspace and I'm actually more thoroughly understanding what's wrong with me. Because knowledge can be scary sometimes. I know some people get really nervous when they like get diagnosed with a mental illness. They're told they're autistic or OCD or ADHD, whatever it is. But it's like, you have to remember that the more information you have about what you're struggling with is always a good thing. You're still the same you that you were before this knowledge, except now you are more thoroughly equipped with a diagnosis to know how to heal and to be able to make progress. You know, it's like not knowing what physical injury you have. That's far worse and far scarier, I think, long term, than knowing what's wrong and knowing what steps you can take to fix it. And mental health is very much the same way as that. It's about knowing what the thing is that's in your brain, or the multitude of things, because sometimes there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of mental illnesses where things interconnect, you know, and for good reason in the way your brain processes. So it's not just one single thing. It's a multifaceted discussion you have to have with yourself, and hopefully with a good therapist who can analyze and make a unique kind of structured path for you to make progress. And in the meantime, if that's not available, do your own research. Again, this is not about like self-diagnosing what you're struggling with, but like there's nothing really negative about finding a book written by someone qualified in that field and reading it. Like right now, I found some books on OCD. I have found some books on relating to childhood struggles, and the book I found on complex PTSD. And I'm going to go through all of those and I'll let you know how they are. Because I figured, you know what? Worst case scenario, I don't relate to some of them, and I can go, hey, these traumatic things they're mentioning don't apply to me. I can move on from that. And for the ones that do apply to me, I can go, hey, this chapter is kind of uncomfortable to read, but hey, it's actually landing on some of the things that sit in my brain all the time and really make me struggle. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. I might do more of these check-ins if you guys want them, to just let you guys know how I'm doing. It can be a little bit therapeutic for all of us, maybe, to see how I'm doing. Maybe you guys can check in on future videos like this and let me know any steps you guys have taken for yourself that maybe have helped or made you feel a little bit more at ease with your mental issues, you know, with your own kind of regulating the struggles in your own brain and anything that's made progress for you. And I don't know. I don't really know what the future is, but I want next year to be better. Not in a like rise and grind. Every day we're gonna fucking kill it every time, because I think that's not what it is to be a human. But I do want to improve. Each day I want to find improvement, but not just in success by standard terms of money or attention or fame or popularity, but in creativity, in how I treat myself, in how I treat others, in how I enjoy my day, because a lot of times these things can be so consuming that I forget to enjoy my days completely. I completely am so worried about if I'm productive enough, if my existence is sort of like streamlined enough to be able to make enough of everything and do everything I'm supposed to be doing. And that kind of sucks. It doesn't leave me space. I've looked back and been like, man, I've made a lot of stuff. That's good, and I'm proud of it, and I think I've done a lot of creative work. But then I'll think and go, okay, when's the last time I sat down and played a board game? Because that does help my brain to turn off and helps my brain to fixate on a good thing that's challenging but fun. And I thought about it and I was like, oh, I haven't done that for like, I don't know, like 6 months, and that's probably not good or normal. And I was like, when's the last time I went through this laundry list of like, how many times have I done these things I enjoy just for the sake of enjoying them, you know? And that list has been thin as this year has gone on, and I'm gonna try to get back to keeping that more in kind of balance and just kind of evening things out a little bit on all sides. So, which is me saying the same thing over and over again. You know how I also know that I was slipping into a really bad depression? I started playing Dark Souls 3 again instead of doing work. And that's when I was like, okay, if I'm choosing to make myself suffer mentally instead of creating things. Maybe I know. Oh, I need to look at this. So, anyway, on the good side, though, I'm playing much better in Dark Souls 3. Maybe I'll do a playthrough for the channel sometime in the new year. Because the more I play it, the more I like it. I think I actually like it better than Elden Ring. I like that it's linear. I like being able to focus on an area and the bosses there rather than having to worry about everything. Because Elden Ring is great, but it overwhelms me and it's very overstimulating and it's very... like the whole executive dysfunction where you have so many ideas of what you could do in your head that you don't choose any of them and you kind of just like freeze up. Like that's what Elden Ring is in game form, is having 1,000 possible things and not knowing which one of them is the right one to do most of the time. And that kind of, it's an amazing game and I've beaten it before, but I like Dark Souls 3 better because it tells me what to do. It just kind of points and goes, hey, there's a big guy in like a fucking pit over there, go kill him. And that's instructions that someone who's mentally ill like me can deal with because it's straightforward and it's linear and I like that. And on that note, go deal with your own Dark Souls boss, which is probably like folding your laundry, putting it away if you're me, showering consistently, like having a routine, and not just showering, but actually getting in the shower and going, I'm not gonna be lazy. I'm actually gonna use conditioner. I'm actually gonna use the sugar scrub on my body. I'm not gonna do a bare minimum shower because I don't feel like I deserve to take care of myself, because I don't feel like I was taken care of enough by the people in my life who were supposed to. So, you know, it's things like that that now I'm starting to look at and go, oh yeah, hey, that's mental illness. Hey, that's abandonment issues. Hey, that's not feeling cared for, so thus you continue the pattern of not caring for yourself because you learn to do it from other people in your environment throughout your life. So anyway, there's a lot to unpack. And when I unpack more of it, I will come back and we'll check in and see how we're all doing. But until then, good luck. I'll still be around. Be kind to yourself. I will try to be kind to myself. Don't be afraid to learn about yourself. And we'll get through this together, you know, as much as we can as people on the internet. But, you know, that's the age we live in. And rather than kind of being negative about it, let's think of it as a positive that no matter where you are in the world, we can connect together in this format and we can try to be kinder to ourselves and have more compassion towards our own brains and more thoughtful towards the way we treat people around us, because I think we all need that. No matter what you do, no matter if you're a public-facing personality or a social media person, or you lead a very quiet life, which is perfectly awesome, you know, no matter what, we all need to be taking care of ourselves much, much better. So anyway, take care of yourselves. Mwah. Love you. Bye.